My name is Floris Amaniagra, and I'm one of the first employees at National Park City Foundation since this year. In my day job, I am a coordinator for London National Park City Ranger Program, and we currently have 54 rangers working across London. So today I've been asked to set the scene for you all. I guess as a reminder, or for some of you that are here with us for the first time, the National Park City vision and movement started in 2013 when our friend Daniel Riven Ellison, who is actually online today, first asked the question, why can't cities be national parks? They can't for reasons I'm not going to go into now, but as we've shown, it is possible to imagine and establish National Park City. Therefore, last year in London, on July 2019, London was declared the world's first national park city. But today's event is not about London, it's about where most of us live, towns and cities around the world. Because from the early days of our campaign in London, the people at the center of it were receiving interest from all cities in the UK and internationally, because these cities also wanted to become national park cities. So the campaign team were excited by the idea of growing a family of national park cities around the world. That's why our foundation was set up partly as a guardian of the campaign and work in London, but also to retain the learning and knowledge from London and to share with other cities around the world. Through a partnership with Salzburg Global Seminar and World Urban Parks, we set out a universal charter for national park cities in 2019. You can check it on our website, on the National Park City Foundation website, and you can see all the people who have signed it. You can also sign up for our international newsletter or join us at one of our monthly international online drop-in sessions. We do have the ambition that there will be 25 national park cities by 2025. And actually later this year, we will be publishing a support package and an application process for cities wanting to achieve national park city status and join our growing family. Today's event, running in 3 sessions due to time differences, are part of Urban October and are intended as a celebration of diverse voices from cities around the world. Over the 3 sessions, we will be hearing from more than 55 people who are working to make their cities greener, healthier, and wilder. We have talks on some wide-ranging topics, including green prescriptions, trail running, bats, bushcraft, wild architecture, repair cafes, bees, and a lot more. We will be recording it, so if you can't make all the sessions, you can listen to them afterwards. And of course, we would love to invite you to share the links as wide as possible. The event has been put together thanks to a lot of people and organizations, including World Urban Parks, Salzburg Global Seminar, iClay Cities with Nature, Flourishing Diversity, and National Park City campaigners in Adelaide, Breda, Galway, Calgary, Sacramento, Glasgow, and many other places. As you know, everyone is welcome in this movement. We've seen that leadership can come from anywhere. I'm personally really excited to hear today's talks. I know I will be inspired by the national park cities from around the world, so I hope you will be too. And of course, we would love if our speakers can connect with each other as well. So good luck to everyone, and thank you to all the team at the London National Park City Foundation that have worked so hard to build this wonderful platform. And I guess before we get started, I wanted just to make a few pointers on the webinar and how today will proceed. So we have 18 talks scheduled for this session with 3 minutes for each speaker. We will try to stay on time. I will be using a timer. I will be muting speakers just to make sure we don't overrun the event. We will have some space for questions halfway and then again at the end. Also, if you look at the Zoom functionality, you will notice that at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A option and then a chat option. So please use the Q&A section to type any questions you might have for specific speakers. And then you can use the chat section for general comments, wider questions, and engaging with the audience. If we don't get to answer to all the questions today, because obviously we're going through quite a lot of content, we will try to compile the answers and send them as a follow-up for this event. And also, if you would like to engage in the social media conversation, we would encourage you to share some quotes from this event as well. And we will be using the hashtags greener, healthier, wilder, hashtag national park cities, and hashtag urban October. So I will be putting the hashtags in the chat. And I just wanted to check if our first speaker, Ernita, is online. If you could put your hands up functionality. Otherwise, we might have to move on to our second speaker, Jacqui Weatherill. So Jacqui, I will pass it on to you and I will be asking you to unmute yourself.
Unmute.
Unmute.
Now,
over to you, Jacqui.
Hang on, just hold on one moment. I can't see my notes now. Hold on. Hang on. Can we just stop for 1 second? I can start again because we had to unmute. I've gone and I don't know what I've done there. Hang on.
Perfect. Just let me know whenever you're ready and then I can press the timer.
Hang on. Oh, hang on. Can't see my slides. There we should be. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see your slides.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the city of Stonington in Melbourne, Australia. We are an inner city urban area of some 120,000 residents, 10 kilometres from the CBD in Melbourne. And our challenge is that 70% of those people live in apartments. Due to the pandemic, our community was in lockdown on and off for an 8-month period, with much of that time also having a curfew from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're very worried about the psychological challenges of our residents working and living 23 hours a day in small spaces and how to keep mental illness at bay. I'm going to talk about how we reimagined, activated and managed our public open space during the COVID lockdown. We all know that access to open space is critical to supporting healthy communities during a pandemic, but Stonington has the second lowest level of public open space per capita in Melbourne. Fortunately, we may have less space, but we have quite good quality and could easily be reimagined. In fact, our park usage was activated and usage increased by 30%. This is Gardeners Creek wetland, water retarding basin and biodiversity site. During COVID, we promoted this natural oasis as a place to visit and explore to reduce the visitation density at our more popular urban parks. Who would expect to see a waterfall 10 kilometres from the CBD? This is Hedgley Dean Heritage Gardens, an established and well-maintained combination of lawn, trees and an ornamental lake. We promoted this to residents as a secret garden escape during COVID. Shh, don't tell anybody. Our gorgeous streetscapes adorn magazine covers and are a trademark characteristic of Stonington. These street trees contribute to our urban forest cover, keeping our city cool. We promoted a series of self-guided local walks during lockdown to get people out and about experiencing the beauty of our boulevards in Stonington. Open space corridors got to work out too as an important green space linkages and significantly contributed to the health of our community during lockdown. Active transport, walking, riding and bike riding were priorities to keep our people safely moving. Especially the green and blue spaces too. Council spent $5 million to rehabilitate the banks of the Yarra River in recent years. Cycling usage skyrocketed during the lockdown throughout the daytime period, activated by council promotions on the safety of cycling. Our open spaces are rated #1 for the things people love about Stonington. Fortunately, creating passive recreation and socialisation spaces has always been really important to us, and our community ownership of these spaces is strong. It's our high-rise dwellers' version of their own backyard. Our furry friends needed open space too. This is an example whereby council installed a small leash-free park at the request of the community. It was quick, low cost, and the artwork was important to make it a more attractive place. Another popular space activated. Gardeners Oval is an active recreation space. It has a synthetic surface to reduce water consumption and increase yield. During the height of COVID, we turned on our lights at night to extend winter use for passive recreation. It was a big winner with our community. This is a pre-COVID image. As you can see, our parks come alive during events. Post-COVID, we're planning to host those events very differently. They'll be smaller events dispersed throughout more intimate open spaces, which will be a good opportunity for people to experience parks they don't normally visit. We aim to make our parks accessible at night too. Each year we hold a Glow Festival. Glow is a light installation event that brings our parks alive in winter, so people have a safe and fun way to enjoy our open spaces. Light installations are created across a number of parks, and over 100,000 people visit Glow each year, an event that can be easily modified to be COVID safe. Since COVID, as I said, we've had a 30% increase in parks use. We researched international case studies. Social bubbles or social circles are working well in high demand areas to keep people safe. Fortunately, our newest addition to our public open space, Paran Square redevelopment, came online in 2019, just pre-COVID. It's a $66 million man-made park with a 500 space car park underneath. So it went from this ugly space to this beautiful space. It's come alive during the pandemic, and I'll show you a video in a moment which shows our public space may be small, but has reaped huge benefits to the mental health of our residents. Our parks have been our saviour during the pandemic. This video highlights the benefits of an additional 1 hectare of public open space in our most densely populated part of the city. We promote quality open space over quantity. Reimagine, activate and manage your open spaces to keep your communities healthy during lockdown. Thank you. So if we can go and show the video. Going. Don't know if you can hear that.
Ed, we can't hear the sound, unfortunately.
I'm sorry about that. It's just showing some images of the space and how it's used by the community at Paran Square. It was fully man-made and it's really grown into itself this year. Kids love it. It's got a water feature. We use it for concerts and just been really embraced by the community. That's it, Paran Square. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Jacqui. So now we're gonna move on to our next speaker, all the way to Netherlands. So Veerle, I hope I am pronouncing your name correctly. I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself now. Over to you.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Veerle Hemerik, and I'm the project manager for the UIA GreenQuays project at the municipality of Breda in the south of the Netherlands. The municipality of Breda has the ambition to daylight the River Nieuwemark and at the same time tackle the problem of sustainable urbanization, degradation of urban ecosystems, and lack of resilience to climate change. And in order to achieve this, we started the GreenQuays project together with 7 partners to find a solution to build nature-inclusive quays. And for this project, we have developed this really nice animation that will give you a good idea of what we're doing in a nutshell. And after the animation, I will show you a couple of pictures that show the before and after situation. And as you can see, the animation started. It should have sound with it. Would it be better if I share mine with the sound, Flory?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll try and share it because I can share it with sound. I tried it before, actually. Share, let's see. And then the next page. Oh, I'm disabled for sharing.
The River Mark will flow through Breda again.
Thank you.
The canals to the north and south of the city centre are connected to each other. This creates a blue-green axis in the city. GreenQuays investigates how nature can flourish optimally and inclusive along the river. The municipality of Breda wants to realise green walls and quays on the Neuermark River by means of trees on and in the quay walls, wall plants and mosses. This not only yields a beautifully overgrown quay wall, but also a rich and varied animal life. In the near future, you'll be able to experience nature here as you sail on the River Mark or walk on the quays. What conditions are needed to create a rich plant and animal life between the stones, on the quays and underwater? 8 organisations will investigate this together over the next 3 years in the European project GreenQuays. What exactly are we researching? We use various techniques to find the most optimal conditions for a rich ecosystem, both against the vertical quay walls and on the quays themselves. We first do this in a small-scale test setup. This setup enables the partners to examine the structure of the wall, the holes, protrusions and cavities in the walls, as well as the types of stone and masonry that are required for the desired nature development. Under bridges and on facades of buildings, places are created that serve as breeding grounds for birds, and underwater shelters will be created for fish. On both sides along the river, a number of unique tree sections will be planted as a growing spot for different types of trees and shrubs that enhance the urban ecology. The quay and surroundings thus provide shelter and nesting facilities and provide nectar for insects. The results of the tests are being used to realise GreenQuays along the entire length of the Neuermark River. GreenQuays, shrubs and trees also contribute to the cooling of the city and combats global warming, a climate-proof design. This project is co-financed by the European Regional Development Fund through the Urban Innovative Actions Programme, UIA.
And we can go to the next slide. Oh, one back, yeah. As you can see here, this is the small-scale test area, is where we test the solutions that we found that are brought to us by different partners, like TU Delft, the Wageningen University, and a tree nursery van de Berg, which is helping us. And if you can go to the next slide, you can see how it looks now. Can you... Flory, can you go? Yeah, this is how it looks now, and this is what it's supposed to look in the future. These are the images that they have created now, and this is what we're going for. And that the next one is also, now it's quite well, not very interesting, and in the future it's supposed to be like this. Much more nature. We're looking for an area where people can relax and stay, but also make the city greener and the climate in the city better. I think I'm almost at the end of my time, unfortunately. We have some information sheets about the objectives that we have, that it has to be navigable, it has to be nature inclusive, climate adaptive, and applicable worldwide. And the challenges we face in the city are environmental, climate change, the green economy, which we want to give a boost, and quality of life. And we mean to reach these by trees and quay walls, look at the mortar, which is sustaining the growth of plants, climate adaptation, flora and fauna, and which substrate we should use. It's like a more complex story than I'm telling in a nutshell. But if you want to,
time is up.
Yeah, if you want to find out more, this is where you can find it.
Amazing. You can also share the link in the chat.
Yes, I will.
So that our participants can see that. So now we're going to move on to our next speaker, João from Portugal. And he will be talking about landscape scale for a conservation project. So João, over to you. We are asking to unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much for your invitation. I will try to share my presentation. Okay, I need you to unlock because it says the guest can't let me share my presentation. Could you just see what's going on? Okay, thank you. All right, I will speak about this this project and nice presentation, so on. So let's keep on schedule. So Portugal, right on the corner of Europe, Cascais, 30 kilometers from Lisbon. I think you all know, or at least have heard about Lisbon. We are talking about a project to pretend to redevelop abandoned and agricultural forest land. So it was a dark past, and we wanted to restore habitats and the landscape. It's a UNESCO landscape, a Natura 2000 site, and inside a natural park, Sintra Cascais Natural Park. So the municipality has 1/3 of the area, its protected area. But this particular farm was used in the 50s in other ways. It was a prison for military and a psychiatric hospital then. So among the villagers and the community, what was a no man's land, so a place where people had no access, and people were not very interested in visit this kind of place. So in 2011, with the municipality support, we start to working in the ecological restoration and starting to open the park to the public. So we had to reintroduce farming activities because it was a farming landscape. So farming was important for habitat management and to preserve the landscape mosaic. Actually, now we produce vegetables and honey and jams, and we engage with the community, with the beekeepers. We have also a lot of social partners who help us out working with jams. So people with disabled people and people with problems with psychiatric problems, they help us out. And so this is a joint venture. And we are looking now for other products. So the idea is to be a community project where people can actually enjoy the landscape and profit it from their own products and understand the values of ecosystem services. So this is one of some pictures from the landscape mosaic. Of course, since we started, biodiversity come along, especially butterflies. It's a very easy bioindicator. And we work also a lot of conservation actions. We do have the problem with invasive species, especially from acacia from Australia, sorry. And also a lot of issues regarding health and social benefits. Now, actually, 120 visitors we reached in 2019. Of course, with the COVID, we had doubled the number of visitors. So I think it's all along natural parks and urban parks. People need nature to get healthy. And we have this concept of pick your own crop, so people can go in the vegetable garden, collect their own vegetables, learn about local food and healthy and organic food. We do also support green jobs, so we try to engage with people with economical difficulties, try to find new jobs. We work with volunteers And we do a lot of educational programs and nature workshops, so people really can engage in being involved with nature. And this is quite important, so people recognize the importance of having this park right near their homes. Actually, we have about 9,500 visitors per month. It's quite a lot, especially with COVID. And it's special attention it's needed to signaling and understand how visitors work and how good can be their experience. Otherwise, it could be not good to have so many people. So this is a common problem also along other protected areas. And that's it. I was quite right. 3 minutes and I missed 1 minute. So thank you very much. I hope this will help out to get new ideas for urban parks, wildlife near the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, João. If you have any questions for João, please type them in the Q&A section. And we will now move on to our next speaker, Sandhya Kaimal, who will talk about sustainable mindful living. So over to you, Sandhya.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone, as we are all in different time zones. By way of introduction, I'm Sandhya Kaimal, and I'm representing our organization, Social Innovation Park, which is a not-for-profit social enterprise based in Singapore. The topic for today's session is innovating with sustainable mindful living. Let me start our session with this first picture. So when you look at this picture, what is it that conjures up? You see a few tentages, you see some greenery around, you see high-rise buildings. What if I zoom in on the next slide? If I can zoom in on the next slide, yes. So what if I would say that most of these tentages house these farms? And that is what exactly we have, farms and other unique ecosystem, which are actually the paradigms of innovating with sustainable mindful living. And how you would be wondering we are doing that is through our organization, Social Innovation Park, wherein we try to bring positive social innovations to life in societies. Next slide, please. So we do not restrict ourselves to be called as an organization. We are a movement of change. And we have different platforms that support this movement for change. The first platform is called SEED, which is an acronym for Social Entrepreneurship and Eco Park Development. And this is exactly the space that you saw earlier. So this is a space, it's a unique social playground that actually incubates and prototypes different inclusive, positive solutions to some of the social challenges, and wherein we showcase eco farms and eco restaurants. And we try to instill positive mindset shift through this particular platform. In order to complement this platform, we have another platform called as SIP Academy. If you can click, please, which actually supports and usually amalgamates nature-influenced mindfulness-based learning experiences for students as well as adults. Next slide, please. So I could take a minute to talk more about our farms. So the seed farms, we call it as farms with souls. The reason why we call that is because this is a space wherein we invite social enterprises, communities to share their passion, live their mission with green innovations. And it also provides us an educational platform on a sustainable agriculture and circular economy. It actually fosters family bonding over harvesting and provides a lot of learning trips to the farms. Next slide, please. The next is the seed container restaurants that we were which I mentioned about. These are called social restaurants. We have 7 social restaurants with 7 social mission, and we call this food with heart. The reason why they're called social restaurants are because each of these enterprises, they are a showcase of upcycled shipping containers, and it's a public platform to spread awareness of social messages. So not only it's a social enterprise, at the same time, this is the first F&B container park that we have set up in Singapore. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, our mindfulness workshops. The beauty of mindfulness workshops is wherein we're trying to instill positive mindset shift to help people innovate and create better solutions to some of the social challenges. And all these workshops are nature inspired, wherein we try to empower youth entrepreneurs, corporates and academia by bringing different mindful leadership workshops amalgamated with nature. Next slide. One of the flagship programs which has been awarded several grants by the Singapore government is the Lead with Nature program, wherein LEAD stands for Learn, Experience, Action and Direction. And these programs try to equip youth with better stress management and coping skills through blending mindfulness with farming. And we realized that many students and youth were calmer, focused, and showed better ability to manage negative emotions. I wouldn't want to stop here. We've got more platforms that actually contribute to Social Innovation Park. If you can click, please. One more. Yes. So as I mentioned, we spoke about SEED, we spoke about Academy. We've got the third platform, which is called PATH, Pop and Talent Hub, which again provides talent development platform to champion social entrepreneurship and provides inclusive and support to various inclusive groups as well as marginalized groups. And the last platform that I would like to add is the Global Social Innovators Forum, which is actually a platform that advances knowledge and collaboration in social innovation by bringing together the 3 Ps, that's the people, public, and private sectors, to exchange ideas and experiences. And all these platforms are aligned to our mother organization called Social Innovation Park.
Thank you so much, Sandhya. Your time is up.
Okay, I just want to move on to the last slide. The next slide, please. The last slide.
This one
yes.
is.
So you can, so the last slide. So that's the reason why we exist, is to co-build a more inclusive, sustainable and mindful world. So we would want to continue our efforts to invite people to join the movement. And how you can do that is to be our champion. You can partner with us on our platforms. And we're always looking at partners who have expertise in the areas of social innovation, social entrepreneurship, mindful leadership. You could also participate in our programs and workshops. Please do share your ideas with us. And if in case you have other ways of collaborating with us, you can email us at info@socialinnovationpark.org. And please do visit our different social media platforms. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sandhya, for sharing your amazing work. If you have any questions for Sandhya, please put them in the Q&A. We're gonna swiftly move to our next speaker, Tash, who is gonna talk about creating national parks. Over to you, Tash.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Now, I really have to agree with Dr. Jane Goodall when she says that every individual matters, every individual has a role to play, and every individual makes a difference. So what happens when government empowers dedicated, passionate, knowledgeable, and intrinsically motivated individuals from different sectors of community to co-design a new urban national park in a capital city from the grassroots up? Well, magic happens, and it's called Glenthorne National Park, Ichamayat Pina Yata. My name is Tash Howard, and I'm just a resident. I'm a mum, I'm an outdoor education teacher. I don't work for any big organisation and I don't have a big job title, but this has been the most incredible experience to be a part of as a community member. I have just under 3 minutes now to tell you the not so 3 minute story about how a new 1,500 hectare urban national park is being created in my home city of Adelaide in South Australia through an authentic, collaborative and innovative co-design process between the Government Department of Environment and Water and our community, which is a community that is made up of individuals who are all striving to make a difference. A community who through this process is having their voices heard and who are empowered to inform decisions and get completely immersed in the early chapters of Glenthorne National Park, Ichamayat Pina Yata and beyond. So The park's dual name represents both the European and the Indigenous cultural heritage of the land of the park. The Kaurna people are the Indigenous people, the First Nations people of this region. And I would actually like to take this opportunity now to acknowledge that the Kaurna people are the traditional owners of the land that I am on today. And I'd like to pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. I've created a list of links and I've just posted them in the chat, so hopefully you can see them. I don't have any slides, I'm sorry, but all of the information and the images are available through those links, so please have a look at them. One of the links in there is Jack Buckskin. Now, Jack Buckskin is a Kaurna languages teacher and cultural educator, and he has a clip in there that explains the meaning behind the Kaurna name Ichamai Pinayata, so please do check it out. In 2018, our Environment and Water Minister David Spier invited 13 community members to form what's known as the Glenthorne Partnership, a group of passionate, knowledgeable and intrinsically motivated individuals from really diverse backgrounds who came together to form the backbone of community engagement for the park. Each partnership member brought their own area of expertise and their own network of communities to the formation of the master plan for the park. And that's been over the past 2 years, and we will continue to devote our time and our expertise and our connections to the implementation of the national park moving forward. The link to the master plan is also in the list that I provided. We're a passionate group and we're like a Venn diagram of humans with our passions. So we're all passionate about the importance of being connected with the land, for the health and well-being of both human and ecological communities, for building community connections, for ecological revegetation, for the importance of local open green space, and very importantly, for equity in access to open green space for all. From 2018 to 2020, the master plan process also involves stakeholder workshops, community open days, a range of other events and community engagement mechanisms. And that captured even more information from our community that fed into the master plan to really get it right. To close, I would like to just channel Dr. Goodall one last time. Please indulge me. I like to envisage the whole world as a jigsaw puzzle. If you look at the whole picture, it's overwhelming and terrifying. But if you work on your own little part of the jigsaw and know that people all over the world are working on their little bits, that's what will give you hope. Having the opportunity to be part of this webinar today and seeing what everyone else is doing around the world today, I am full of hope. So thank you for your time, your open ears and your open minds, and please check out the links. Thank you
very much, Tash, and very beautiful way of ending your talk as well, because hopefully we all want to be part of the change and we're all trying to make the world a better place. So it's amazing to be celebrating all of this together here today. Yes. So now we will move on to Michelle from Australia, who will be talking about trail running. Over to you, Michelle.
Thanks so much. Yeah, my name is Michelle Brigham. I've been living in Adelaide for 10 years. And during that time, I've been involved in trail running, and I've seen the trail runners just grow exponentially from a few hundred people involved to over 1,000, and the second biggest trail running event in all of Australia. So we've made good use of our amazing parks around the city. They're easily accessible within 20 to 30 minutes from the city and very well used. Unfortunately, we're not contributing to the care and the maintenance of those spaces relative to our use. As a volunteer organization and a nonprofit, we do donate some of our profits to the organizations that do care for the spaces. But I wanted to create a culture which really valued the spaces that we used by contributing through a more hands-on approach. So just this year, very much in its infancy, which is why I don't have any slides or anything really to show yet. But I've launched a trail running essay, Bushcare, Trail Care and Habitat Restoration Initiative. So the goals for this project are to contribute to the overall health of the wild spaces that we enjoy, to help people establish a much deeper personal connection to and ownership of these spaces, and then to also create a culture within our community that respects and takes responsibility for the spaces that we use on a regular basis. There's a bit of a barrier to entry with these sorts of projects because it's quite specialized. We don't have the technical knowledge. We're not ecologists. We don't know the specific needs. So we've established partnerships with one organization in particular, who are the Friends of Black Hill and Morialta, which are a group that do have the expertise and the ecologists in the park leaders on board. So they are mentoring our first trail running group and facilitating our work along a portion of the trail. So they're educating us about native plants, native wildlife, and how to identify invasive weed species, which is our focus right now. So we've taken ownership of a part of the trail to clear it of invasive weed species as a first step towards rehabilitation of an area that we frequent and that we use. So the result has been undoubtedly a deeper connection to what makes the spaces that we run through so special. The first group that we've had through really have been quick to claim ownership of this particular section of trail after seeing what just one day of work can do to actually change the environment around them for the better. Participants have stated that spending time just being still in a space relative to always just running through it quickly really changes how they think about and how they relate to the spaces that they use. Identifying flowers, observing the wildlife, and appreciating things like land contours that we don't usually do have really people have said it's meditative and inspiring, and does imbue more of a connection and care for the places that we use. I would posit that committing to caring for the land long term through committed projects like this actually increases the physical and mental benefits of using an outdoor space and being outdoors. So the lessons so far that we've learned through our first 6 months in this is that it's actually quite difficult to attract interest for people to care long-term for a piece of land. People think it's free and managed by the government, which it is, but we have our challenges are to approach this from a different angle and get people to really engage and create a culture that will be ongoing. To this end, another challenge is to identify groups within all the different parks around and really make it a home, an ownership, where a group can take a local park and be owners of that. So yeah, still some challenges that we're working through and trying to get it off the ground. But ultimately, I hope that care for the land that we use and the wild spaces that we run through becomes intertwined with our enjoyment of that space. And we have seen that in other groups. And yeah, that's our project for the trail runners of Adelaide.
Thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to questions and comments. We had a quick one for Tash. Maybe you can write it down in the chat as well, but where can we find the link to your park information? So please, if you can reshare the link, that would be very helpful. Julian was saying that Michelle raises a key point about the maintenance and care for spaces and places. Creation is one thing, but upkeep and maintenance is a whole different challenge. So great to see that the trail runners are getting involved. We also have a message from one of the attendees, Emma Halliday, in the chat saying if any participants are delivering nature-based solutions or are nature-based enterprises, bringing nature into the cities, sign up to nature-based enterprise platform to share knowledge, but also hear about various opportunities. Loads of different links have been shared in the comment section, so feel free to check further resources that our speakers have been sharing. And I really loved the comment, I don't know from who exactly, but saying good use of energy. We have an equivalent called Good Gym. And a question just came for Michelle. Michelle, even if loads of runners have thought that the upkeep is government's responsibility, you have engaged some people in this cross-connection idea. What language and values did you tap into to get their interest?
interesting question. I'm still working on that, to be honest, because I've only been doing this for about 6 months now. But runners have a sense of community already because we go on group runs all the time. We actually do really care for each other. And so I've started with that. We start the day with a group run, and then we have a pub lunch at the conclusion of the work day. So if you put those two elements in, say, let's all meet for a 10K run, and then just spend a few hours walking around the park and pulling weeds and helping, it's quite a good way to start. So it's taking that community of people and expanding that to the community and the culture that involves the spaces around us.
Thank you very much. So we're now going to move on to our next speaker from Australia as well, Susan, for Repair Cafes. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself, Susan. Over to you.
Hello, everybody. Morning, evening, whatever time zone you're in. Right, yeah, okay. I'm from Adelaide, which is located in the unceded lands of the Indigenous Kaurna people, who we have so much to learn from when it comes to making the best use of nature and our resources. I'm here today representing the 7 repair cafes in the Adelaide area. People have often repaired items for friends and family, and repair cafes are an extension of this type of skill sharing. The first repair cafe was set up by Martine Postuma in Amsterdam in October 2009, and there are now 2,000 across the world. The concept is simple. It's a regular, often monthly gathering of local volunteers with different repairing and mending skills. Anyone from the community can bring their broken items from home to learn how to fix them or receive advice on other places who may be able to fix them if that's not something our volunteers can do. The repairs may include electrical and mechanical items, furniture, gardening tools, household appliances, jewellery, toys, textiles and clothing, depending on the volunteers that are attending that particular session. There is no obligation for volunteers to be available for every event. We have seen everything from bikes, bears and boxes to overlockers, sewing machines, toasters, vacuum cleaners and zippers. The repair cafe sessions build community through meeting new people, reduce waste and share valuable mending skills in friendly local venues. They are an opportunity for people of diverse ages, backgrounds and occupations to socialise together while sharing and building their knowledge and resources. They involve some problem-solving fun and can become quite addictive, as you will never know what will appear in any session. Often the items brought in have far greater sentimental than economic value from shared life experience and the memories of the people bringing the items in. We have been fortunate in Adelaide to receive support from both the state and local governments, including the provision of seed funding and the use of suitable venues, including libraries and community centres. Repair cafes are not a classic national park city project, but still one of significant environmental and community benefits. Ruby Wake started the first repair cafe in Adelaide at Unley in April 2018, and she's been a wonderful resource and mentor for all of us setting up the other cafes since. In the past 2.5 years, they've saved over 1,150 kilos of waste from landfill at the Unley Cafe and had 1,000 visitors through their doors. They run for 9 months a year because they don't actually meet over the summer months. The repair cafes bring the community together in unique, collaborative, fun, creative and environmentally focused ways. They're a great place for people to learn the value of circular economies and reduce their reliance on finite resources with the help of some friendly volunteers, and great for networking with other groups in the community, the service clubs and the other events that are on. One of the challenges faced by repair cafes is reaching the people who do not use technology and social media, who are often the people who could benefit the most from what they have to offer. Combining repair cafes with other events like food co-ops and local markets has helped us to reach these people. You can find more information about the repair cafes at Repair Cafe International on Facebook and at the repaircafe.org website on how to start a repair cafe, or if there is one already in your area, there is a global map on the website. Thank you for giving me the time to talk about repair cafes. And I
amazing. Thank you so much.
Area.
Thank you so much, Susan. If you have any questions, please write them down in the Q&A. I know a few people trying to start repair cafes in London as well, so it would be great to learn more about them, and also to understand how have you been adapting to COVID as well. We're gonna move on to the next speaker. We're staying in Australia, so Christy, over to you. I will ask you to unmute yourself.
Hi, yeah, it's Christy Spier from Adelaide as well. So I hope everyone can hear me. And yes, wonderful to see all the local initiatives and hear more about things. As a fledgling newbie to trail running, I've taken up running since COVID to get out there and improve my mental health. So fantastic initiatives to see locally, and hello to all the international participants as well. And yes, like the others, would like to recognise that meeting on Kaurna land today. And the initiative that I'm talking about, sharing about, is the SA Urban Food Network, which I am the facilitator of, which we kicked off back in 2018. And this initiative came out of an event called Edible Adelaide, where we had some international speakers come to speak about how to get more urban agriculture happening in cities. And through that, there was a lot of inspired people across the community, across local government and within state government, which is where I work at the moment. I've just begun with a new state agency called Green Adelaide, and we're looking at the National Park City concept as well, which is very exciting. And so as part of this role, we supported this network to get on its feet, and I'm facilitating that at the moment. And yeah, through Edible Adelaide, a lot of people were really inspired about what's happening all around the world, which events like this are so important, but they also were starting to ask the questions, well, what's actually happening locally, and who are our local champions, and how do we get behind them? How do we get to see some more initiatives actually on the ground? Because there's a lot of talk about urban farming and urban agriculture here in Australia, but there's not a lot actually occurring at any great scale. And so we wanted to start this network of trying to uncover what's already happening here, because they can be some small scale things that are happening, and also to connect people so that they could work together to actually get some things off the ground. So like any good network, it's all about getting warm bodies in the room and getting them excited about what they can work on together. And to look at, and I'm really interested about some of the perspectives being shared tonight around not just the community initiatives and community gardens, but also social enterprises and actual businesses that will help people to actually have livelihoods as well. A lot of things here are kicked off and then stifled through lack of funding, or you know, they come into, we're one of the driest cities in Australia as well, so water is a major issue in terms of those that want to produce and grow things. So yeah, lots of challenges that we thought a network would help to bring all those people together. And we're really working from a complex adaptive system approach in terms of understanding that it's a food system, and there's so many different players at work in this, and the way that we can try and make some connections. And I always think about joining the dots so that people can understand where they fit and where their passions lie and how they can work with other people. So our network was launched back in 2018, so just a couple of years old, and our main thing is to have network events, uncover research. So we had one of the largest citizen science projects looking at backyard gardens that was undertaken here in Adelaide, and those results were shared through an event that we hosted, and encouraged people to look at garden design and the most efficient way of using water and produce. So I'll share the link to that particular project, because I think that's of interest around the world. And we've had lots of other events. We had a masterclass with Michael Abelman in urban agriculture, And so we've tried to access speakers from around the world. And we also link with a national network called Sustain Australia, the National Food Network. So we're trying to also link with colleagues and friends around Australia to keep on learning and sharing all that information. So the other thing that since COVID as well, we managed to get a great website, saurbanfood.org is the simple website, but I'll share that, where we've been trying to educate people around what is a food system. We look a lot at the work of Charles Massey around regenerative agriculture and what it really means to get beyond sustainability and look at how we're regenerating things within our cities and within our peri-urban and regional areas. So through this urban network, we also want to connect with our farmers and the people that are around our city food bowls as well. So there's
amazing. Your time is up. But thank you so much for sharing such wonderful work. Please, if you can share the website on the chat. And of course, if anyone wants to connect with Christy and learn more about this work, feel free to do so. Can I check, is Michael in the room? If you are, can you please use the hands up function so we can promote you as a panelist? Meanwhile, we're going to move on to Sweden. So we have Malena joining us. We will be asking you to unmute yourself. So over to you. Malena will be talking about transforming lawns into meadows. So over to you, please.
Hello. Should I share my screen? I sent you my presentation, or should I share?
Ed should have the presentation and he will be sharing it.
Yeah, well, so I am an environment strategist at Växjö municipality in the south of Sweden. And I'm going to tell you about the project that we've done about transforming municipal lawns into biodiverse meadows. So next. Why do we want more meadows? Well, first for biodiversity and connectivity. Here in Växjö, we have 50 threatened species that are directly dependent on meadows for their survival. And meadows in Sweden the area of meadows have decreased drastically the last 70 years in Sweden due to changes in land use and changes in agricultural practices. And it's also for enhancing ecosystem services such as pollination and climate regulation. And of course, there's a win-win situation here because we will have lower costs for park management. There's less mowing of the lawns and less CO2 emissions from the lawnmowers. Next. So here's a map of some of the lawns that we have transformed into meadows. And the colors, we have transformed them into different types of lawns. I'm not going to get into that, but some of them also have fruit trees on them. But this is just an overview of some of the lawns that we have transformed. Next. And what have the results been? Well, so far we transformed 9 hectares, which equals 13 soccer fields, into biodiverse meadows. And we have made some very rare findings there. For example, the orchid in the top right corner, and that just came naturally. So there's a lot you can do by only stop mowing your lawns. Biodiversity will enhance. You can also do more. You can remove lawn and put some seedlings in and things like that. But some of these flowers just came naturally. We have also informed the public by putting up signs and explaining why don't we manage the lawns? Why does it look sloppy in the beginning? Just to increase awareness about biodiversity. Next slide. And what's next now? Well, we have another 13 hectares planned that we will transform. And we are also a part of this large EU interregional project called Blue Green City, which is about enhancing or improving policies on blue and green infrastructure in cities. Next slide. And what we have done in Växjö in that project is that we are going through our spatial planning process to create new routines and activities to make sure that we integrate the ecosystem service perspective all the way in the spatial planning process. Next slide. So here is a picture of the spatial planning process, how it looks like in Sweden. So we move all the way from the regional plan down to management. And this might sound a bit dry, but this was the activity that we thought this was going to make the most difference. This is how we can really affect. We could go about making inventories about ecosystem services. We could focus on different small projects, but we landed in this, that we have to go through the whole spatial planning process and change the routines. How are we going to integrate ecosystem services to get a good result? We can write many plans, but we have to make sure that we use the plans and that they're being implemented. So we're very much focusing on the how in this project. So for example, in the comprehensive plan, we are changing the texts that belong to the map, the digital map, so that we enhance ecosystem services there. In the detailed development plan, we have checklists when you develop those plans to make sure that we manage for ecosystem services such as pollination, climate regulation. I bet you know about these things. And all the way down to management, where we have management plans, such as not mowing lawns. Next slide. And that was it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Malena. We definitely need more meadows in our cities and less lawns. So let's see how we can support the movement in our own cities as well. If you have any questions, don't forget, please submit them in the Q&A section. Meanwhile, we will be moving on now to Spain, to Barcelona. And we will be hearing from Eugenia. So over to you.
Hello, good morning from Barcelona metropolitan area. And thank you very much to the organizers for this great opportunity to share our vision for a green metropolis. Next slide, please. How is our territory? Well, open spaces occupy 54.6% of the Barcelona metropolitan area, most of which are protected, over 90%. This means that despite a high anthropogenic pressure, the metropolitan area still maintains a high rate of open spaces and a remarkable biodiversity. Many of these spaces, as you can see on the image, coincide with important landforms to which urban settlements has been adapting gradually. The orography, for example, to which the land occupation has been adapting, also made it possible to preserve spaces of great ecosystem value, such as the Collserola range in the center of the image, or the Massif Garraf, and so on. All of these spaces still maintain their forest coverage. And at the same time, forest areas combined with farming activities, forming the agroforestry mosaic. Next slide. Besides forest areas and the agroforestry mosaic, we have as well other open spaces of great environmental and social wealth, such as the Llobregat and Besòs river basins, streams, and beaches. And at the same time, these open spaces are complemented by other green spaces of a more urban nature, such as parks, squares, and so on, and for a myriad of small green fragments or interstitial spaces. All this set of heterogeneous green spaces creates a green infrastructure that provides the metropolis with a wide range of cultural, social, environmental, and even economic services. Next slide, please. The approach envisioned by AMB, by the metropolitan area of Barcelona, seeks to reinforce the interconnection between these spaces, permeating the urban fabric and ensuring the biodiversity and the functioning of ecological process. Therefore, two very fundamental aspects of our vision are the strengthening of the green infrastructure and the valorization of ecosystem services. Within this understanding of green infrastructure and the importance given to the ecosystem services, the planning for the metropolitan area focus on three main objectives. One is to maintain and enhance biodiversity. Another is to promote connectivity, both from a social and from an ecological point of view. And last but not least, to value the productivity of the ecosystem products and services in order to guarantee the preservation of its extension and quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eugenia. Our next speaker couldn't be with us today, but they still decided to send a video. So we will be sharing a video now. Please bear with us in terms of technicalities of things. But Ed, over to you.
Hello, my name is Piyush Dhawan and I'm from New Delhi, India. I would like to talk about urban mining, the hidden riches in our cities. Well, the objective of urban mining is to safeguard the environment and promote resource conservation through reuse, recycling, and recovery of secondary resources from waste. Urban spaces accumulate large stocks of materials and resources, especially contained in buildings, infrastructure, landfills, and our households. Resource-rich wastes like waste arising from electronics, construction and demolition, and end-of-life vehicles represent a stock of potential resources in metals, plastics, and rare earth that can be reclaimed at the end of the product lifetime. My city, Delhi, was the greenest capital in the world until 2013, and now in 2020, it has been termed as one of the most polluted cities in the world. Even now, I'm sitting inside a room with 2 air purifiers. Imagine the only 2 things that were most pure, air and water. Now it comes in containers. So that's the travesty that we face in a city like Delhi. Could there be a better way that we could reverse this and make our cities livable again? With this brief, I started to look at my city from a lens, from a different lens actually, a resource lens. From buildings to electronic waste, we are surrounded by value. Our buildings alone contain around 400 million tons of aluminium metal that can be extracted and recycled by further generations. Recycling aluminium uses only 5% of energy needed for primary production. Could you imagine the enormous resources we need to accommodate future citizens, especially like in a city like Delhi? Right now, all of this comes from outside the city. This is because we are oblivious to the hidden riches in our cities. Take, for example, India's consumer electronic market, which is one of the biggest in the world. A single mobile phone carries or contains a whopping 60 kinds of minerals such as palladium, copper, silver, and gold. With the current demand levels, we will finish indium in next 10 years, platinum in next 15 years, and silver also in next 20 years. Well, virtually 100% of the metals used in the phones can be recovered. For example, it is suffice to dismantle around 1 ton of mobile phones to extract 300 grams of gold. So why do our mobile phones still land up in a landfill? We need to think the role of our cities. We are oblivious to the fact that cities are aggregators of materials and nutrients. We are also oblivious to the energy and optimism of the people who move into these cities to seek foothold in the modern world. I'm a firm believer in karma and rebirth. Why can't mobile phones be reborn as mobile phones? Why does it have to land up in a landfill without any purpose? The purpose of urban mining will not emerge on its own. Apart from technical innovation, which could play an integral role in the road to circularity, the process will also require collaborative efforts across the value chain involving individuals, private sector, different levels of government and civil society. So hashtag green, healthier, wilder. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Piyush. If you would like to connect with their work, just let us know and we're happy to make an introduction. I wanted to check if Sanjay and Carlos are there. If you are there, please put your hands up. We will now be moving to our next speaker. Gillian, I'm gonna ask you to unmute yourself now and over to you.
Hi, thank you. I'm Gillian Dick. I'm Spatial Planning Manager at Glasgow City Council. So welcome to Adreich, as we say in Scotland, west of Scotland. I'm going to do 3 minutes on place-based approach with a nature-based lens. So if you're ready, buckle up, here we go. So we're a front-runner city in the Horizon 2020 Connecting Nature project. I'll put the links up after I finish speaking, and we're using our open space strategy as our exemplar. We have 2 statutory documents that we have to produce in Scotland in planning. That's our development plan and our open space strategy. And we want to take a place-based approach. There's nothing new in that. My hero, Patrick Geddes, back in 100 years ago in Edinburgh, was talking about the right place for the right people at the right time. And if you go to Jane Jacobs in the 1960s, she effectively said, if you don't like the community you're in, why would you work to make it better? So you have to love your community to make it better and be passionate about changing it. So it's the other thing to think about a place-based approach. It's all about the same space within our communities that's used for multiple uses. So our spaces are used to get us to places, to learn, to breathe, to engage, to do business, to connect with our neighbours or disconnect with people, whatever you want to do. In Scotland, we have a definition of open space as being both the green, the blue and the grey. And a lot of the time people talk about the green and forget about the blue and the grey. They're equally valuable open spaces. And the biggest open space in Glasgow is actually the River Clyde, which if you don't know it's there because of our drumlin landscape, you probably miss it. You don't see it. It's not as prominent as the Yarra in Melbourne, for instance, or the Thames in London. We want to understand not only the quantity of space, so there's a tradition of counting the amount of space and going, yay, we're a green space. Green city, we've got tons of green space. Yeah, but if it's of poor quality and people can't get to it, it's as much use as a chocolate teapot. You need to understand the framing of your questions and how you're going to use it. You need to understand whether those spaces are fit for function. We have conversations with our communities using the place standard in Scotland. I'll put that link up, which allows you to have a conversation about a place amongst communities, whether that's communities of people or communities of professions. We want to understand the functionality of the space. We have a statutory duty in Scotland to produce an open space strategy, and we see both the open space strategy and our development plan as key asset management tools that provide us a great, rich evidence base that allows us to make decisions and measure the impact of those decisions as we go along. We look at that evidence base through a nature-based lens. That's some of the learning we're getting from Connecting Nature. There's an international definition of nature-based solutions, which says that it should provide social, positive, I kind of use the words do no harm because I get my net zeros muddled up. So do no harm to the social cohesion or community, at the same time, do no harm or improve the health and well-being, do no harm or improve the economy, do no harm or improve the environment. And by default, you'll pick up with biodiversity, because sometimes when you talk about biodiversity or ecology, people switch off because they don't understand the words and they think it's a niche thing. So if what you're going to do doesn't include or does harm to any of those 5, then you're not doing a nature-based solution. By default, you're not doing a place-based approach. We want to sweat our assets in a positive way. We want to make the most of our assets, and we want to raise our spaces and places up the agenda as not nice to have, but something that everybody should have access to. So the place-based approach with a nature-based lens says that you shouldn't just focus on one of those aspects. If you do, you fail. A great example of that failure at the minute is the kind of COVID pandemic that we're in, where the focus, particularly in the UK and particularly down south of where I am, appears to be on the economy at all costs. So we've yo-yoed in and out of solutions that are doing damage to our health and well-being and doing damage to our social cohesion and having short-term impacts on our environment positively, but we're not sustaining them. So if you look at where we're at the minute, to conclude, we're probably in the biggest place-based approach and nature-based solutions experiment of all time across the world, and we need to take society and community with us and do no harm to them. We need to take and be sure that we do no harm to people's health and well-being. We need to do no harm or improve the environment. We need to do no harm or improve the economy, and by default we will improve the biodiversity. Done.
Thank you so much, Gillian. Any questions for Gillian? Again, please put them in the Q&A. We will now move on to Carlos, who will be speaking to us about promoting urban biodiversity. Over to you, Carlos.
Good morning. Talking from Guimarães, from the landscape laboratory of Guimarães. So starting, it is crucial to have an integrated urban biodiversity plan value to the city green areas, so citizens can enjoy, can respect it. It is essential to increase the knowledge to protect nature. It is essential to educate, to transform our society. It is essential to transform from the local to the global level. Thus, we are developing a protection and promotion project, joining environmental education with research and development. A strategic biodiversity planning composed by six different actions that can be used to biodiversity. So I think that the main key words of the project are the research and development, citizen science, engagement, and also this kind of promotion of biodiversity. One of the actions is the control plan for invasive species, mapping the invasive species of the city, raising awareness actions, and trying to involve citizens in these actions all over the city. Also, we are trying to create a program, educational, environmental education program, that each child is invited to plant a tree and protect the tree during all its grown stages. Private companies wanted to be part of the project by buying trees to be planted. Also, we created an application mobile biodiversity database supported by the need to create a database for biodiversity. Is an application mobile supported by the concept of citizen science, and people are invited to take photos and create our database of biodiversity of Guimarães. Also, we are creating different species observations facilities to promote nature tourism and to promote the engagement of the population. We believe that the engagement of citizens is really essential to this kind of urban plans that we are developing. Also, we are now creating new biodiversity routes based citizen science, so people need to go to the potential areas that can we create in the future some some biodiversity routes, and these areas needs to be more attractive for locals, more attractive for tourists, and we are developing some touristic nature related activities relating to nature and cultural events, and then after we will create new routes for promote nature tourism. So the importance is to engage people and to join the environmental education with research and development. So if you want to see more about this project, we can search for Landscape Laboratory of Guimarães, Laboratório da Paisagem de Guimarães, and we can see more about this project, that it was distinguished by URBAC network.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Any questions for Carlos? Again, feel free to put them in the Q&A tab. And now we are going to move on to our last two speakers. We will be first hearing from Rajan. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself. Just to check, Rajan, are you there? Otherwise, we will move first to Sanjay. I'll pass it on to you. I'm going to ask you to unmute yourself now. Over to you, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the panelists. Myself, Sanjay Prasad, I'm representing a very hill town in Darjeeling in the northeast of India. Actually, Darjeeling is very rich in biodiversity from the very beginning. The point here is to sustain that biodiversity and maintain that green. That is the greatest challenge. With the growing urbanization and growing population, the green areas are under threat. So what we did from our end is to propose a biodiversity plan of Kurseong. And this biodiversity plan has basically two components. One is the Biodiversity Management Committee, and the other is the Biodiversity People's Register. So the idea is to this in this BMC, we have tried to formulate a stakeholder group with the help of the municipality, the Education Institute, the regional government, the NGO, and the Citizen Forum. The Citizen Forum is very important as the fact that it is the older citizen who know what was the status of Kurseong 50 years back. So they will be the instrumental player who can guide us that this was the situation before and now this is the situation now. So what we need to do. So this stakeholder is very important. And secondly, with the biodiversity register, we are actually looking after a register to note down landscape biodiversity register, plant diversity, animal diversity, life diversity, and cultural diversity, and heritage diversity. And the idea is to record all these diversities in a single place so that at time to time we can go in that biodiversity register and update it and check what is the status. So you see the salamander is still available in this area. Some of them are still there. So we are looking for this, how to revive this. So this has come from the People's Biodiversity Register. And you can see the landscape. Slowly there are houses which are coming here and there. So we try to monitor this with this biodiversity register, which is under process. The whole system of biodiversity plan in Kurseong, in my city, is very new. And that is the reason we are struggling. You see the heritage diversity, these are the very old structures of 200, 300 years old, which was never protected. Now we have looked through our biodiversity register to look into that. If you look at the flora and fauna of this region, there are very instinct birds in this region, which are actually on the verge of extinct. And we are trying hard to look for these birds so that they can remain in the city. That is why, and we have also, based on our people diversity register and constant consultation, the city has taken up some projects also. These projects are like strengthening local plants in the region. Also revival of salamanders and construction of rest sets. These rest sets here and this here, they will actually serve as a monitoring point for the people's biodiversity register and the people's the biodiversity management committee to look into the situation. What is the situation of the city's coming days and what needs to be done in the near future. So those are the few projects we have taken, which is derived from the People's Biodiversity Register. So the project is ongoing, and in hope in future we are going to change the scenario and sustain what is there, the green condition of Kurseong as it is in Darjeeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sanjay, and thank you for the beautiful photos you've been bringing to this event as well, and the beautiful biodiversity. I'm just checking. So Rajan, I'm just looking for a last speaker. I know he's here. Rajan, I'm just promoting you to a panelist. And Rajan will be talking to us about mainstreaming biodiversity. Over to you. I'm going to ask yourself to unmute. Perfect. Over to you, Rajan, for our last speaker, and then we will wrap up the event. Hello, can you hear us? You are unmuted, so we can hear you if you can hear us. Rajan, we can hear you. Okay, we might have a technical problem here. I'm really sorry about that. I'm gonna give it 2 more seconds to see if we can have Rajan. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up the event. Yes, I think Rajan lost connection. Well, don't worry, we will be asking him to maybe send us a video, and then part of the follow-up of the event, we can actually share their work as well. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone joining today. It's been amazing to hear about all your great work. Stay tuned if you can for the other events. We still have 36 speakers to go today. Next event is happening at 2 p.m. UK time today, and then the other one at 8 p.m. UK time. We have recorded all the talks, and we will be uploading all the videos on our YouTube channel, so you can revisit. And of course, we do encourage you to connect amongst each other, to learn from each other, to join the movement, and just continue the amazing work you're doing. So a big round of applause to everyone. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day, or a good night, or a good afternoon, wherever you are in the world at this point in time. Thank you, and stay tuned and share our movement far and wide. Goodbye, everyone.